Howdy, partner.
We don't take kindly to folks like you in these parts.
What you missed, right, is right before we hit start, Rock was like, you do the intro because I do something stupid. So I wanted to do something even worse than he would even do. So
Definitely topped me.
I topped you.
Howdy, partner.
Howdy, partner.
Partner. Welcome to the Wild Wild West. Jim West, Desperado. Wait, that's a different movie.
Should have watched that.
Jim Garner.
Oh, yeah.
No one calls him that, but you could.
I called him that. We were
You can
friends.
call him Jim Gardner if you want to.
You
We were lovers.
probably don't know what movie we're doing this week because you haven't seen the title of this video, and you forgot last week when we said that we were going to be doing this movie. Last week we did Battle of Algiers, laugh riot, slapstick comedy. This time, a little bit more somber, a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
We're doing a Sean pick. Support your local sheriff.
Right, which is something that you guys have never even heard of.
No.
Rock, have you heard of this movie?
I had not until you said it. No.
I'd never heard of this, and for whatever reason, I thought this was a cop movie starring Don Knotts.
I did.
Oh.
I don't. The Don Knotts. Now, Don Knotts, that would have been a treat. But no, I didn't know that. I just thought it was a cop thing.
This, to me, I was shocked when it was on Disney Plus, and then I realized it's not a Disney movie. Like, I thought it was.
It reeks of that late 60s Disney vibe. You know what I mean? It really does.
Because I was literally looking for it on Disney Plus until I was like, hey, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Who made this movie? I don't have any information on this at all.
Who made it?
Yeah.
MGM.
Oh.
It's definitely cut, but it's definitely like cut from the same cloth as you watch like Blackbeard's Ghost or something
Apple
like that.
Dumpling Gang.
Yeah, that late 60s.
A lot of the people who are in Apple Dumpling Gang are in this movie.
Dude.
It's the same.
The Ghost in Mr. Chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Was it Ghost in Mrs. Chicken? I've never seen it.
I've never seen that
I actually
either.
don't know.
Mr. Chicken. I have seen it. Don Knotts classic.
Oh.
He is Mr. Chicken.
Maybe Mrs. Chicken was a sequel. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Don Knotts in drag.
I'm back.
There's a character in this, the mayor, but Harry Morgan is the actor's name, who's in a ton of shit, MASH and whatever.
Okay.
Whenever I hear that guy's voice, which is not a nice voice, it's like it's like the most soothing thing to me. I don't know what it is about this guy that I just like. He's like a grandpa I never had or something. Like I love this guy so much. So when he's in this movie, I'm fucking in. I don't know. I'm very curious what you guys have to say with this movie. I picked it again because I've seen this movie so many times. When I went up to my grandparents had this cabin up in Julian, which is like an hour away from here. We spent the night there a lot, and there was 3 VHSs at this place, and this is one of them. So I watched it.
What were the other 2?
It was like one was like Death Becomes Her. So I wasn't allowed to watch that one.
Classic.
Couldn't see that.
That movie rules.
And then I forget the other one, but I remember the other one being like, that's a dumb kids thing. I'm not watching that. I'm watching Support Your Local Sheriff all the time. So I'm going to be extremely biased on this movie, but if you guys gave it 0s, I wouldn't even be mad because it's just
Good. Well,
I'm just saying.
get
Like,
ready.
I have
Get
no,
ready.
I love it, but if you guys don't, that's okay.
So you out there are probably like us and have never heard of this movie. It is a 1969 comedy western starring James Garner as a prospector who comes into a lawless town and takes up the job of being the sheriff and is tasked with cleaning up the town, mainly taking on the town's one family of bad guys.
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of bad guys, but they're just like the roughest, toughest family around. They do whatever they want. And generally, it's a town filled with wild prospectors who are fighting in the streets, fighting in the bars.
Yeah, it's a lawless town.
It's a lawless town. But it is a 1960s comedy film, so it is very lighthearted and kind of goofy.
Yes.
And kind of charming.
And I was not prepared. I did not know. I'm going to go on record. I'm a James Garner fan. I did not know he would be the lead in this. So that was an unexpected treat.
Where have I seen James Garner?
He was in...
I can't recall a sing.
Grumpy Old Men, right?
Was he?
Isn't he the Grumpy Old Man?
No, that's Walter Matthau.
Dude, that's Walter Matthau.
No,
Sean.
there's 2 of them.
and
There's
John-
men.
And Lemon, Jack Lemon.
Jack Lemon.
No, he's
Sean.
the other one. He's the third
Sean,
one.
you're showing your ass
That's
right
Sophia
now.
Lorenz.
Sean, you're
Oh,
showing
shit.
your ass right now.
No, I think he was in Space Cowboys.
I think so.
That's the only other James
He's
Garner
the
movie
same
I've ever
character,
seen.
but he goes to space, right? And no, that's
He's
not,
in The
but
Notebook.
I was just about to
Oh,
say
he's
he's
the
in
old
the Notebook.
guy in the Notebook.
Yeah.
That's where I've seen James
Yeah.
Garner.
Yeah.
He's in The Great Escape too.
Yeah.
Can I
The
tell
Notebook. He's
Okay,
in the
sorry.
Notebook.
really funny Notebook story real quick?
He's old Ryan Gosling. He's so sexy in the Notebook.
I have a real funny Notebook story. I could tell it in 10 seconds.
Go ahead.
Go.
Someone that I dated was really wanting me to watch that, and the movie started, and I'm telling you, I fell asleep immediately and opened my eyes as the credits hit. And they were like, wasn't that good? They never noticed that I fell asleep, and I was out the whole movie.
What
Go
the
ahead.
fuck?
Nice.
Didn't
Took you
notice.
15 seconds, but pretty good.
15 seconds.
He was also Maverick in the TV show Maverick, I think, right? Wasn't he?
The only thing I
Maverick?
know about Maverick, it was a Mel Gibson movie before he was racist and sexist.
Well, he probably was those things. We just didn't know it.
Yeah, it was just a classic era Mel Gibson. Anyways, enough about Mel. We're here to talk about James Garner's Support Your Local Sheriff.
Yes.
Before we get into this movie, I didn't know what to expect from this movie, and then it started, and it was a Western, and I love Westerns, frankly. We should watch more Westerns on this.
I also love
On
Western.
this movie.
My next pick was going to be one, but now I'm like, well, I want to have contrast though. But I
What was your next pick going to be?
what it was going to be? Unforgiven.
Oh,
But
I've never seen
I don't
that.
know. I don't know if I can do that.
that's a good Western.
Got to have some contrast.
But you got to watch a bunch of Westerns to lead up to Unforgiven to fully appreciate it. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I think. All right, anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, also, I did not realize until doing research for this movie that there's a sequel to this movie. Support
Yeah.
Your Local Gunfighter, which isn't, I guess, like a real sequel because they all play different characters.
They
named-
do?
I read it's technically not a sequel
What?
because it doesn't follow this story whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's just the same actors doing different characters
Yeah.
in a generally another comedy Western movie.
Yeah, it's like, well, let's make a sequel at that point. If you got everyone else and it's called Support Your Local Gunfighter, like, what are you doing?
I read that in 2004, screenwriter Bo Derek wrote a script that was an official sequel
Ooh.
to Support Your Local
Whoa.
Sheriff, where the story would pick up 25 years later, and James Garner's character comes out of retirement to clean up the town again, only this time the bad guys are led by a resourceful but frustrated Shakespearean actor,
what?
which sounds awesome.
Sounds
Like
really
support your local theater troupe, maybe?
Yeah. Oh,
I
that's
guess.
good.
Kill your local
Kill
theater
your local
troupe.
theater.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
So
Don't
this
listen to
movie,
us.
we're gonna get into it right now. The movie starts with a funeral, and they're burying. Are they burying the previous sheriff? Is that who's getting buried?
No, I think what they said they're burying some guy who got sick, and they just. I remember the preacher was
that's
like,
right.
hopefully whatever they had wasn't contagious. Like,
Yeah. They start off with a hardcore COVID-19 joke.
Yeah.
Too soon, guys.
60 years
really,
before the virus, they knew somehow.
really too soon.
Yeah.
And then at the burial, a girl's like, "There's gold in the grave," and they all jump in and start fighting over the gold.
This was a great opening, by the way. For my money, that was a 10 out of 10 opening to a Western. We wish that they may pass. Oh, what's that? Oh, God. And them just diving
At
in
one
on
point,
that.
he says, "Get the coffin out of the way so we can get to it."
Yeah. I was like, all right, I'm down with this opening. I'm liking this opening.
I'm glad you
silly.
liked it so much because the filmmakers got sued for stealing that opening from another Western called Paint Your Wagon.
All right, this is 10 times better. Yo, that's some funny shit. Let's just do that.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
Who cares?
I think
Gives a
they
fuck?
eventually won the lawsuit because they're like, you
'Cause it
didn't
was so
make
funny.
up gold in a graveyard? Come on. That happened all the time.
The judge deemed it too damn funny, and he couldn't. They just didn't get sued.
Yeah. That opening has no bearing on the rest of the film whatsoever.
Well, it does actually, because that's them getting the gold for the town. Like you see it before, after multiple viewings, you notice that they show you the town, and it's just a couple tents. It's like some
Right,
shithole.
yeah.
And that's when they find the gold, and then the opening credits is everyone coming to the town to get the gold, and that's why that girl is so rich at the end, is because they got the gold from the.
See, if I had watched this movie 20 times in my life, I
Yeah.
would have picked that.
I'm
up.
here
Pick
to
it
help you.
On viewing like 17 or 18,
You
pick
figured
up.
that part out, yeah.
I did notice that it opens and they're like, "Where this town's a gold? It's prosperous." And I'm like, "It's a town full of fucking tents."
Yes.
But okay, they
So,
developed it. I
they
thought
developed
that the graveyard was at the outskirts of town, and then that they like moved into
No,
the center of town.
that was the center of town. And then they even say like they don't have any laws because like the town became a town so quickly that they just couldn't keep up,
Yeah.
and like that's why it's all
That's so
fucked
funny.
up.
I thought the same thing as you, Derek. That's really funny.
This is
But-
also the plot of the HBO TV show Deadwood. It's
Oh.
exactly the same thing.
and it opens again the same way. They all dive in on the grave.
Yeah.
And but they yell cocksucker a lot more.
They
Sorry.
really do.
Sorry if you're
They
watching
didn't even
this.
say it once in this movie.
Which surprised me.
Not one time.
James Garner, I thought he was going to save it.
You
for
know
the end.
he wants to say it.
I ain't cocksucker.
They don't curse in this movie at all, but they
Yeah.
imply at one point in the movie that they're gonna say shit.
Yes.
Because there's a character who gets promoted to deputy, and somebody goes, "Last week he was shoveling horse. He was watering the stables."
Yeah, that's
Just
right.
say it.
Yeah.
This movie would have been so ballsy if in 1969 they're like horse shit.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Come on, James, step up next time.
Okay, so this is what would be considered a boom town. What happened? Where we lost our image? Are you texting over there?
No, my phone just all of a sudden cropped out, and then I'm trying to get this back. I was trying to get it back without you noticing, but then I realized it's my phone that's showing it, so I can't. I don't know. Give me a second.
We're having some technical
Let's see if I can
difficulties.
change. Keep going.
It's
keep
not going to
going.
work if we can't see James Garner. But yeah,
Well, I
you
got a
could-
new
you could-
picture of James Garner that since we're
Oh.
here.
All right, so it's a boom town. There's a lot of outlaws and prospectors and wild, wild west cowboys just in the town. I really like the opening of the movie because it was people just walking around with purpose, like
Yeah.
walking very fast. I'm going over here. Well, I'm going
Bustling.
over there. Oh, out of my way.
Bustling Western town.
Yeah, and James Garner kind of comes in. He's the one guy taking his time, just looking at everything. He's very cool, very chill. And he goes to a saloon and gets a drink, and then immediately in that drink, some poker players break out into a fight, and the guy playing poker shoots another guy, and then does the classic, it was self-defense. You all saw it. He was going for his gun. Yep, I saw it. Yep, no, it'd be ashamed to call it anything other than self-defense.
Yeah. Oh,
And then
man.
James Garner is like, yeah, a nice trick you pulled. See, you feinted with your left shoulder, making him go for his gun, and then you drew on him. And the guy is like, who are you? They get into a little tiff, and he tells him his name. I don't even remember the guy's name.
Danby?
Yeah.
Joe Danby?
That's it. He's like, I'm Joe Danby. Remember the name. And James Garner goes, okay, I'll remember your name. And then he leaves. And then we meet this girl played by Joan Hackett named, what's her name? Trudy?
Yeah, Trudy.
Trudy. And she's like the one hot chick in this town. She's actually, I had a crush on Judy.
Yeah.
Trudy, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Joan Hackett, if you hadn't died in 1983, I'd be your biggest fan. She's walking through the town, and people are like slapping her butt
Right.
and being rude to her. And then she goes stomping through some mud, and she gets knocked over and face full of mud, and she gets pissed off. And she picks up a big old 2x4 and gets into the fight, starts rumbling with people. Just madness all over this town.
Yeah, the whole town is fighting, which I think is funny. It starts off with him at like this food place getting food, and everyone's fighting. But it's funny because it's just so stupid. There's a fight breaks out, and he goes, wait, 1 second. And then he grabs his plate, and he goes to the side, goes, all right, go ahead. And then like they keep fighting, but they all listen to him, which is just stupid and funny. But I like that in the scene, like she's fighting in the mud. You see in the background that fight at the food mess hall is still happening, like way back there. Like I just like that. It's like the fight is just, the whole town is fighting essentially. It's all fucked up.
They're all drunk. They're all trying to get gold, and they're all fighting each other. Eventually, James, what's his character's name? Is it Jimmy?
Shit. No, it's not. Is it Jimmy? No, I'll get it. Give me a second.
Jason?
Is it Jason?
It is Jason. Yeah, but they just call him Sheriff so much that is
All right,
Yeah.
his name.
we're gonna call
Yeah,
him
I didn't think about that either.
His name is Jason.
In my mind, I never knew him as Jason.
He sees an ad saying, we need a local sheriff. And basically, another scene earlier was all the leaders of the town, the mayor and the four guys who own the mines here in town, the four richest men in town, are basically talking like, what are we going to do? This place is dangerous. We can't get a sheriff who can enforce the law here. They keep getting killed or run out of town. And what's the name of the family of bad guys?
Danby's.
The Danbys are too powerful, they're tough, and there's a lot of them, and we just don't know what to do. So Jason sees the ad requesting a new sheriff, and he goes to the general store to respond to the ad and basically applies for the job of sheriff.
Right, with the condition that whenever he wants to leave to go to Australia, he can. Because that's his whole goal, is just to go do a little gold hunting, then go to Australia. And he'll do this in the meantime.
Yeah, and then pretty soon you get the impression that Jason can handle himself. They're like, what's your qualifications? He's like, check this out. And he flips a coin and he shoots it, and the bullet goes through a hole. I think it's a washer, actually. Yeah. And they're like, well, this already had a hole in it. How do we know the bullet said where you said it went? And he's like, well, it did. And then they put a piece of tape over it, like, do it again. And he's like, well, I don't want to shoot 2 holes in your ceiling. They're like, just do it. He's like, all right. And he flips it and he shoots it, and the tape gets shot through. So he is an expert marksman.
I always thought it was so funny as a kid when after he shows the hole through the tape, the town is like, I hope I didn't offend you earlier when like they're like the 4 of them get so like, oh, it's okay, sir, and that's all good, and like they get so scared of him.
By the way, I heard that scene was ripped off from another movie as well.
Yeah.
What?
So that's 2 scenes.
What was that
stolen from other movies?
I had it in my little notes.
I don't know the name of the movie, but there's a Western that came out before this where a guy basically does the same thing. He takes like a necklace off of it's like an Indian necklace with a hole in it. And he does the same thing.
Yeah, he puts like a stamp over it. Yeah.
Oh.
But hey, if it's good, why not steal it?
This movie's like a greatest hits compilation. What are you gonna do?
Exactly. His first task as sheriff is to go arrest that guy who got into the gunfight.
Joe Danby,
at the poker place. So he goes and he arrests Joe Danby. And he generally like gets the whole town to stop fighting by getting a fire hose and hosing everybody down. And then, they're like, oh, you think you're the new sheriff here, huh? And they go to draw, and he draws first, and he shoots the gun out of their hand. And they're like, oh, okay. Anything you say, boss. Mm-hmm. So he goes and he arrests Joe Danby, the poker player. And that guy who's like, anything you say, boss, he makes that guy his deputy. Mm-hmm. And out the gate, this is kind of the first act of the movie, introducing all the characters and setting up the main conflict here, which is Sheriff Jason and his newly appointed deputy have arrested a member of this big bad family.
Yeah.
And they're going to hold him in jail.
Which the jail has no bars.
Yeah. My favorite gimmick in this movie is repeatedly going back to, we haven't finished it yet. Yeah, you're not escaping, or
yeah. All they had was a thing of red paint. So they put that on the floor and said it was blood, and that was the guy who crossed that line was killed. So then like this guy stays in jail.
Yeah, I just love that recurring gag. I was a fan.
Yeah, this is a super very 60s comedy where the joke is like, there's no bars in this jail. You call this a jail? Well, we're still building it. It's stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Sheriff Jason, he takes the job, he arrests Joe Danby, and then we get to see that he's basically going to get paid $150 a month to be sheriff, and he gets free room and board at the mayor's house. Mm-hmm. And the mayor has a daughter, and it's old Mudface, Judy, or Trudy, whatever her name is. And there's a little bit of, a romantic story here in a very 60s comedy way. She's always embarrassing herself, and he's like, oh, do you always act this strange? Are you always this weird? And she's like, no, I'm not. I hate you.
There's something about James Garner in this role where he's the most sure of himself person, but he's not like a pompous asshole. He's just so charming in this movie that like I always loved it as a kid. Just like, oh dude, I want to be that guy. Like the best shot, but he doesn't brag about it. He just is.
There's something refreshing about that kind of character. You know what I mean? Or he doesn't use it like you said, to be an asshole. Like he's like a good-spirited guy.
Yeah, he's just sure of himself, rightfully so, but he's not like a dick about it. He's just like, no, I can. Like,
he's just confident.
Yeah. Anyways.
Confidence, and he uses it for good.
And so when he talks to Trudy, it isn't like he's like talking down to her. It's just like, you are very strange. Whatever, but it's not like being a dick to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were times where he was definitely an asshole. I was like, this guy's a fucking asshole.
Well,
he takes his deputy to go gold prospecting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And he's like, you're going to do all the work, and I'm going to get 60% of the gold. I'm taking a nap. Burp.
Also they go, well, he's mostly to that guy. But yeah, then when he's like, they're fishing, it's like, hey, you clean off these fish, and I'll get ready for you to cook it for me. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's true. So you can't say he's not an asshole.
He is an asshole, but he's a charming asshole.
But he has a heart of gold behind it.
Yes. Sure.
Yeah. So while he's in his jail one day, keeping Joe Danby behind bars that don't exist, Joe Danby's father comes in and points a gun at him and says, "Release my son from jail." And James Garner plugs the gun with his finger.
This is a great scene.
Yeah, and I was thinking like, yo, that finger's gone. Like, just blow this dude away. For whatever reason, this is like the main bad guy of the movie. I mean, it's a comedy film from the 60s, but he's like, take your finger out of my gun. I can't shoot this gun with your finger in it.
It'll blow up in my face.
It'll blow up in my face.
Send a bullet right back into my eye.
I'm like, what do you think? He has like adamantium bones in his hand? Like, just shoot him. I was watching that scene, just like, just fucking shoot this guy and end this movie.
The longest time I thought that would work, if you put your finger in a gun, it would make it so the guy wouldn't pull a trigger. Like, I thought that's how it works.
This was like maybe my favorite scene in the movie because I've never seen a threatening situation diffused in quite this way. I'm going to fucking kill you right here and now. Wait, you just put your finger in the gun?
What am I supposed to
do? Like, I don't really... Thanks a lot.
And then
I was gonna shoot
I
you.
love that he was gonna kill him, and then it's like, well, let's say talk to my son. Well, go ahead. And he goes, much obliged to you. It's like, what the fuck? Like, he was gonna kill you 2 seconds ago.
I've never seen it.
Does he disarm him too? Does he take his gun away?
I think he.
Yeah. After he gives up. Yeah, he goes like, well, I'm not gonna fire it with the and then he goes like, all right, I'm taking it, and he takes it and
He takes the bullets out,
takes
gives
the
it back to
bullets
him.
out and hands it back to him.
That's right.
So right away I was like, this villain sucks, dude. Like, if I was the villain, this movie would be a lot shorter. I wouldn't even say release my son. I'd just boom.
I mean, if you think about it, really the plot of this movie is for this villain, this bad guy, to get his son out of jail with no doors and no bars. That's the movie.
And he just can't do it. He can't make it happen.
If I was him, I would have come in with the gun like back here, like, I'm gonna shoot you. James Garner would have been like, bring it closer so I can put my finger in it. I would have said no.
You'd have the bullet. Boom.
Yeah.
And then James Garner tells Daddy, like, oh yeah, I arrested your son and he's really stupid. And then the dad goes back and talks to his son. He's like, there's no bars here. And he's like, yeah, but I can't leave. And he goes, you are stupid. All right, just wait here. And like, he agrees with him.
Yeah.
Again, the goal is just to get your son out of jail and there's no bars. And it's like, nah, you're too stupid to do that. Yeah. That's support your local sheriff. In a nutshell. From this point in the movie, we kind of see that Sheriff Jason is, he's like flirting with Trudy, and generally the people in the town, they basically support him. They see that he is kind of cleaning up the town, but they're also scared that he's pissing off the wrong people.
Yeah, I mean, like eventually the Danby family hires a bunch of hitmen to go kill the sheriff, and it's just like a whole montage of just like the sheriff like outdoing them and killing them instead. And I mean, again, there's not a lot to this movie. I picked this on purpose. Battle of Algiers was so much that I'm like, let's just pick something that's the opposite of that, and just so light and just whatever.
Yeah.
So I picked this one for that reason.
Yeah.
Because there's not much more to it. Like, the Danby family gets all of like their relatives to come and try to kill the sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the Trudy was like, well, what do you do? He's like, I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go to Australia, and that's it for me. And then she's into that idea. And then the last day is, you know what? No, I'll figure this out. And then like it all culminates in a scene of like the like family slowly walking up on a horse, and it gets all serious, and the town's all empty. And then the sheriff, he bests them. He gets them. No one dies. It's all lighthearted and fun.
Yeah.
Well, a couple people die.
Yeah, but you don't know them. So do they really care? No matter, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like we're missing something from the middle of this movie.
I mean, they put the bars in.
Yeah.
That jail gets its bars.
I'm not selling anyone on this movie if you haven't seen this movie. But like, there's so many little jokes that are so funny to me where like the dad and brothers try to break, once the bars get put in, try to break Joe out of the thing, and they can't. And then Joe's like, I could have told Joe it was going to work. And he's like, well, how'd you know? He's like, well, I put the bars in myself. Like, he had Like Joe Danby put the bars in. That's so fucking funny.
While he was
in jail.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely is like a family-friendly movie from the 60s. It feels like, a Disney film. I would not be surprised if there was like a section in old Disneyland that was based off of this. You know, like in Frontierland, you know?
Definitely feels
Support
that
your
way.
local sheriff. Like, almost like the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that era of films. Just very wholesome and very like, oh, shucks.
Where's Support Your Local Sheriff Land? That deserves its own part of Frontierland. Fuck Galaxy's Edge.
If there was, I would go. If there was merchandise, I would buy it.
Yeah.
I need a Support Your Local Sheriff shirt. Why don't I have that?
Yeah. Come on. Where's the merch? From this? Sell, the bars or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
So towards the end of the movie, I'm going to recap what you just said.
Yeah, thank you.
He goes on a date with Trudy. He goes on like multiple dates with Trudy. He's always flirting with her and she's flirting with him, but he says the wrong thing and she gets angry. She's like a firecracker. Then they're out on a ride, just going through the countryside one day on a carriage, and they kind of pull over and she's like, you've been handling the Danbys really good and they keep sending these hitmen after you and you keep taking them on, but I've been hearing now they're getting all the Danbys and even the Danby cousins and a couple extras, and they're putting together a posse to come for you. It's probably 11 people. And he's like, yep, that's about what I figured. And she's like, well, do you know what you're going to do? And he's like, yeah, more or less. And she's like, what is it? He's like, I'm going to Australia. My plan that I always had. And she says like, wow, that's really mature. And that pisses him off. He's like, what do you mean mature? And she's like, yeah. Why have this whole shootout in this town that's probably going to be violent and get a lot of people killed? You could just take off and we can avoid the whole thing. And he's like, you don't think that's cowardly? She's like, no, I just told you. I think it's mature. And he's like, no, it's cowardly. I know it's cowardly. I know it's cowardly because I've never done a cowardly thing in my life. And this is not the type of thing I do because it's just too cowardly. And then she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I'm going to go fight the Danbys. And then we have the posse riding in, which I count as actually 13 people, so they were both wrong. And then they all line up, and he basically says, this was great. He walks out in the middle of the road and he goes, you're all under arrest, put your guns down. And at the same time, they all draw their guns and start shooting like wild at him, and he just like dives out of the way with no bullets hitting him. And I'm like, you just gave this guy a mag dump, and he Neo Matrixed all of these bullets. It was incredible.
Support Your Local, the one.
There's also a part in this scene where he does the same thing he did in the mess hall. He tells everyone to stop, and then he crosses the street and is going like, wait. Okay, now go ahead. And then like they start shooting again, but when he's like back to the cover, it's so stupid, but it's so funny to me.
Yeah, so in this final shootout, it's 13 members of the Danby posse, and then it's Sheriff Jason, his deputy, who is not the town drunk. He's known as the town character.
Right.
Which I guess is a way of saying he's the village idiot.
Yeah.
And then Trudy on what do you call it? Lever action rifle, And this is where we see that Trudy kills 2 people.
Right.
You say nobody dies in this movie,
Well,
but she guns down 2
some of the
Danbys in the
Danby
street.
Yeah,
cousins.
come on, Trudy.
And Jason actually goes over to her. He's like, you ever heard of shooting to wound? And she's like, I only shoot to kill. She's like fucking Terminator in this movie.
Damn.
Yeah.
Then he's like, whoa, wait. And he crosses the street, and then he's like, okay, keep shooting. And they start unloading on him again. Then he gets the village idiot to go get Joe Danby out of jail. And in this magical hard cut,
Very
2
much so.
seconds later, there's a cannon in this town.
Oh, yeah.
Why does the town have a cannon? I don't know.
Left over from the war, bro.
I guess
it's
so.
fun.
And
Didn't a lot of them have? Seriously, like they had a lot of stuff left over from old war shit.
I don't know. Maybe.
Hey, you know
what I
what?
thought.
Old Town in San Diego's got a cannon.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
but
saying.
where's San Diego?
Well,
This is just some fictional middle of nowhere town.
Well,
Anyways,
I mean,
Fictional canon.
yeah.
they handcuff Joe Danby to the cannon, where he's like strapped right in front of it, and the cannon is pointed right at his chest. And Sheriff Jason's there with his cigar, and he basically says to the posse, "Put all your weapons down, or I'm gonna blow this fool away." And they're like, "No, we don't believe you." And he's like, "All right, I'm gonna do it." And he goes to do it, and they're like, "No, wait. And they put their guns down.
Yeah. And they all go to jail. They all walk.
And then they are all arrested.
All arrested. And
that is the climax of the film.
well, the climax of the film is then
The cannon accidentally goes off.
and destroys Madame Orr's house, which is a whore house, which I always thought was a play on words, like Madame's whorehouse, but it's Orr house. Turns out that's not the case.
Oh.
And that I guess there was a guy, William T. Orr, who was a Warner Brothers executive who produced James Garner's TV series Maverick, and Garner had a contentious relationship with him. So it was like a dig at that guy, and then James Garner blew it up.
He's blowing up Orr's house.
Right. So take that, William T. Orr.
Deal with it. So he blows up the whorehouse, and they're like, "What'd you do that for?" And he's like, "No, it was an accident. I love them whores. They're my best friends. I'm sorry." And all the like leaders of the town, the mayor and all the guys,
Which
they come running out like in their underwear, like, "Oh, what
just
happened? Oh."
I always thought it was funny too that during the shootout they were just fucking like that. That's what they were doing. All the town leaders like, we're just gonna go to the whorehouse and you deal with this problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we kind of glossed over a major scene where they all vote to not help him in this final shootout, which again is reminiscent of the scene in the movie High Noon, which is a third Western that they've ripped off for this movie. And then the movie ends, and he's like, "I'm not gonna go to Australia. I'm gonna marry Trudy." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm your husband now.
That was weird.
We're going to have a lot of kids. And when I say it's time to go to Australia, you're going to go." And she's like, "Oh, okay. All right." And then the village idiot like talks directly to camera.
Yeah. Oh, this killed me.
Like
this killed me.
like Zach from Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
He just breaks the fourth wall. He's like, "Well, that's the end of our story. And I'll tell you what happened. He never went to Australia, but he read a lot of books about it.
And he became governor.
He became governor of the state, and I became sheriff, and I became a fabled Western and Old West folklore."
That was my favorite part. The fact that this fucking nobody character tells you I became like one of the greatest figures in Western history.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why that got me. I didn't see that coming.
And then that's the end, man.
Yeah, so truth be told, the movie was a little anticlimactic.
Sure.
And
But I kind of figured this movie would be. Like I just the way it was going, I'm like, it's gonna be something stupid. So yeah.
it's definitely a movie from the 60s, which I feel like it was just a simpler time.
Yes.
Where you could have a movie where pretty much nothing happened, but it was a little 90-minute comedy romp that's kind of funny and kind of charming, and you're like, nothing happened, but I liked it.
That's exactly what this movie is. Yep.
I will say, now that we've reviewed the whole plot, I'll give you my take on it.
Sure.
I liked this movie.
Yeah.
I thought that this
Me too.
movie was charming.
Yes.
I think that's the best way to put it. It does remind me of those old 60s and 70s live action Disney family friendly comedy movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's silly. The character, honestly, they're still doing this shit today. He's like a 1969 Star-Lord, basically. Right?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, he's just like quippy and cutting jokes. Oh, this is a gunfight? Hold on. And Chris Pratt does a little dance, but this guy's just like, wait. I want to eat my food.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
continue.
You're right. Oh my God.
So Disney, they haven't broke the mold. They set the mold way back when. Actually, Disney ripped off MGM because this isn't even a Disney movie. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say this isn't even a Disney movie. You already said it.
Yeah. So that is Support Your Local Sheriff. I did find out that this movie is titled after a parody of bumper stickers that were popular at the time that said "Support Your Local Police."
Yeah. That and I've seen those. I remember seeing things about that, and that's why I thought when you told me, I was like,
Well, I always
related to
wondered
that?
why there was an exclamation mark in this movie title. Like, that was always weird to me. And I think that's what the stickers had, so that's why they did it.
Yeah.
So
It's
that
like
makes
funny.
now
shouting
it
it.
finally
Yeah.
makes sense.
You
How
better
funny.
fucking do it.
Well, I picked this movie, so I will rate it first. This movie isn't the best movie ever made, but to me, it's like you put this movie on a rainy day, and I'm just gonna feel good. That's just how I feel
Yes.
about this movie. It just brings me back to those days when I was a kid. I give it, 4 stars, 4 shakers.
Yeah.
It's a classic in my world. So that's me.
If you saw last week's episode, you know that he also gave Battle of Algiers 4 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That means in Sean's book, these are side by side.
Well, one of these movies, I'm not going to say which, I'm going to watch again one day. And I won't say which one that's going to be.
And the other movie is just unforgettable. It'll stay with you your whole life.
It's so funny.
And that
'cause
is support your local sheriff.
literally yesterday I was out with Johnny and Kevin and we were talking about movie club episodes and how it's really funny how sometimes we'll record episodes close to each other and we'll remember the score from a past one and compare the score. So where it's like, all right, this week we're reviewing, Schindler's List. I give it a 4. Well, last week you gave Weird Al's UHF a 4, Rocco. Like, really? These are...
Yeah.
It's always funny comparing,
I think you actually rated UHF higher than Schindler's List.
I may have, but dude, Weird Al, like Schindler's List had 0 Weird Al.
It's true.
Like, let's call it for what it is.
Sure.
So, anyway.
I'm going to give this movie a solid 3, which is right down the middle.
Yeah.
It's a good, solid, average movie. It wasn't boring, but it also wasn't the most engaging film I've ever seen. It's a movie from the 60s. It's a family-friendly movie, but hey, it's free on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah, by the way, people should know that.
The whole
If you wanna
movie's
watch it,
free
it's
on YouTube. So you can pop it on, no commitment, and see for yourself.
I also found out that the Support Your Local Gunfighter is also
Yeah.
on YouTube. I'm going to watch that. I've never seen that.
Yeah, that popped up at the end when I finished the movie.
too,
I
and
was like, what the hell?
I've never seen it. I should at least give it a shot.
Yeah.
See what this is about.
Yeah, I was thinking at first I would also give it a 3. It's, again, it's not like a life-changing film, but I don't know what it is. There are certain eras or whatever of movies. There are great movies in every decade and important movies in every decade, but there is something to be said about movies from the late 60s and like cheesy 80s movies that are like comfort food to me. I don't know what that is. And that bumps this movie up to a 4 from me because this movie was so fucking charming that I enjoyed the shit out of it. So you want just a charming, fun Western movie. You can't do
That's
wrong.
not serious?
You can't do wrong with this.
Yeah.
I'm tipping it a little more in my scale. That's just what I get comfort out of. You might not like it as much, but I think you'll enjoy it, at least a little bit.
I will say a couple things about the movie. See this scene here, this house? This house struck me as way too modern.
It kind of does
yeah.
look
To
too
be
modern.
in a Western film. And if you look closely, there's a scene that takes place in front of this house where Trudy is stuck in a tree.
Yeah.
And James Garner is talking to another woman from the town about Trudy. And then at the end of the conversation, the woman's like, all right, well, I'll see you later. She walks away, and it looks like she is walking on a sidewalk that has been buried in dirt. If you look closely, you'll see that the dirt path she's walking on is like elevated from the rest
Interesting.
of the dirt.
Yeah.
And I really think this was just filmed on some backlot, and they're
Oh,
like,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
We're not building an Old West house. Just
Yeah.
You're gonna use the Leave It to Beaver house, and we're just gonna put dirt in front of the
And
house.
you put a cowboy hat, and that's good
It was
enough.
supposed to be like a rich house, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they thought they could get away with that. It's like, oh no, it's fancy. It's fancy.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then I was reading some trivia about this movie, and apparently when it came out, it was a total bomb.
I didn't know that. Wow.
And the movie studio was really disappointed. I guess they were going to like pull it from theaters or something. What's this? I wonder if I have this written down here. Apparently, like James Garner paid money. He gave him like $10,000. Like, let this run for another week.
Oh.
And the word of mouth got out. And this movie actually ended up being one of the top 20 highest grossing films of 1969.
Wow.
Despite the fact that its first week out,
Was
nobody gave a
How
shit.
funny. Yeah, sometimes things have to find their
Yeah.
audience or whatever.
So
I don't know how you sell this movie though. Like, I don't know what you would, what preview would make you want to. I don't know. It's just a weird ass movie that with no plot really.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
In regards to trivia for this movie, the thing that cracked me up, I always love to look this kind of stuff up. Whenever they say monetary numbers in a movie, like they offer him in the movie, they offer him $150 a month
Yeah.
to do the sheriff job. So I always love looking that stuff up. What would that be now? Like, what's
Sure.
the equivalent? That would be just shy of $5,000 a month now.
Wow.
Just shy,
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And they said, $60K a year is that a lot for a sheriff, but it also include room and board, if you remember in the movie. So he got a pretty good deal out of it, actually.
Yeah. Well, he's rich.
Yeah. I also was...
Well, plus he fucked the mayor's daughter.
Who's the richest girl in
they throw that in,
town.
I guess.
So if your boss hooks you up with his hot daughter,
hot rich
You
daughter.
might take a pay cut.
that's a bonus.
Yeah.
That's a bonus.
I was also blown away by the factoid that Bruce Dern, who played Danby, is the only surviving person involved in this movie. I had no clue.
Fuck.
I didn't know they were all gone except for him. So
Damn.
Bruce Dern, shout out if you're watching
Shouts
this.
out.
Yeah.
You made it, dude.
So keep that in mind when you watch this movie and you
They're
see
all
this
dead.
bustling town of people. Just know that they're all
Skeletons.
dead. Yeah, they're all dead.
Picture it.
Tough.
Yeah, except for Joe Danby.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
God.
Well,
Well,
Danby's won in the end.
Rocco, I think you have the next pick.
Okay, you guys are talking a lot about the 60s. You guys are talking a lot about Disney. You know, there's a movie that came out. You might be thinking, I'm going to pick a 60s Disney movie. No.
Oh.
There's a recent movie, but it dealt a lot with the mindset of the 60s and what it was all about. Some people were touched by this movie and really affected by it. Others said it was fucking garbage. And so I
I'm
thought it'd be
scared.
an interesting...
Oh God, no!
Howard the Duck 2.
Tell me it's not Tomorrowland.
It is Tomorrowland.
No!
Have you seen it?
Why? Why is that? Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
I never wanted to. Now I'm being forced to watch Tomorrowland.
Maybe it's gonna be good. Maybe it'll be great.
Yeah, maybe.
It just went up on Disney Plus. They just added it.
Okay.
So I figured that'd now be a good time.
Fair
Check it
enough.
out.
Well, check it out.
Have you seen it?
I've seen it.
So
yes.
you already have an opinion on it.
Yeah, I have an
Okay.
opinion, but I have a different one. I watched it again when they added it, and I go back and forth on a lot of it. And so I thought that would make it an interesting
Okay.
conversation.
I don't know anything about this movie,
Yeah.
so
It's based
is George
on-
Clooney in it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Here's what I know about this movie. It's based on the land in Disneyland.
That sounds, interesting.
I think it has to do with time travel. I think. I just said I think. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
Yeah.
Well,
I know that there's a guy with a fucked up face in it,
George Clooney.
and I've heard mixed reviews.
Well,
Guess
we'll
I'll
give
have
you
to
the
judge for myself.
Definitive answer next week.
I don't know why I responded so viscerally with Tomorrowland. No,
I'm going to do that from now on.
Tomorrowland. You can.
Get ready. I'm gonna Darth Vader no every choice now. I'm trying to think who the guy with the fucked up face is. Man.
Well,
We'll find out
you'll have
next
to
week.
watch it again.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.